and Coach Guards all got all 6 correct this past week. Brutal got 5, and Phil got 3 correct. So they're at the top. Jay Young at the top with 37 points. He gained a game up on Brutal, who has 32 points, and Phil, who has 30 points. Everybody else is still really in the midst, in the middle or towards the bottom, all looking up at the Asian sensation still.
The Power Rankings. Hey, who's number 1? Hey, who's second ass? The Dynasty Power Rankings.
The Power Rankings article this week was written by Coach Brandon McDowell, and the picture is a picture of Coach McDowell and Big Ben Roethlisberger. As we look at the rankings, we still have the Riverdale Scoopers for the second week in a row as the number 1 team. They actually received 4 of 5 number 1 votes and remain in the top slot. Number 2 remains the Amber Alerts, still right behind the Scoopers from a ranking standpoint. Right behind the Alerts again is Bubba Gump. No change in the top 3. Bubba Gump is at 3rd. However, at 4th is a change. Brutal surpasses Hunters. Hunters is now 5th. Brutal is now 4th. They swap positions, just like they do in bed many, many times, so I hear. That was uncalled for. I apologize. The Yellow Peril up in the 6th slot, they're just gradually moving up, move up 1 slot from last week. Handy Quacks drops down 1 slot down to 7th. Hong Kong remains down in the 8th slot. Negros still remains at 9. Soglo at 10. Iron Dogs at 11. And Senators at 12.
Now, let's take a look into the future with next week's matchups.
And as we look ahead to the future and next week's matchups, Week 9er will be viewed by most of us at the midseason hangout and is the last of a 3-game stretch of playing outer divisional opponents. Now, in the Jumbo Donuts Game of the Week, we got ourselves the 6-2 Amber Alerts going up against the 5-3 Brutal Deluxe. Both are currently 2nd in their respective divisions and need to keep pace. Both have won 2 in a row, and they are only 20 points away from each other. So they're pretty even, pretty close teams. Brutal hopes to win this game on the ground with their number 1 rushing attack, while the Alerts will lean on Tom Brady's game against the G-Men. The next game, which I personally voted as the game of the week, honorable mention from a game of the week perspective, many are referring to as the Toilet Bowl. The 1-7 Iron Dogs up against the 0-8 Rockdalian Senators. Clearly the 2 worst teams in the league and possibly the 2 worst teams the Dynasty has ever fucking seen. The Guards have the worst passing and rushing attacks, while the Senators is last in receiving. So basically, passing, rushing, and receiving will not be coming at a premium this week here in this matchup. This game's final score may be something like 39-24. Coach DeYoung is also trying to avoid not only an embarrassing loss to the Guards, not only his 12th straight loss, which would be a new Dynasty record, but this may be his best shot at picking up at least 1 win this year to avoid something that's never ever been done in the Dynasty ever before. And that is a winless season. The next game is the number 1 power ranked 7-1 league leading Riverdale Scoopers up against the 3-5 Soglo. I'm sure Coach Tavolieri could think of nothing better than serving as a spoiler here and bringing down the top-rated Scoopers. He's 2-1 against them all time. But the Scoopers seem to be getting stronger as the season progresses, so it would be a tall task, let me tell you. The next game is the Hong Kong Cavaliers, who are 4-4 up against the 4-4 Handy Quacks. Now, both teams have lost 2 in a row, and whoever loses its 3rd game in a row will not be in a good spot. Big game for both franchises. The next game is the 5-3 Yellow Peril up against the 5-3 Bubba Gump Shrimp. Now, a lot's at stake here in this matchup, and we're going to dig into this game a little bit later in the podcast. But then lastly is the 3-5 Negro Damas up against the 5-3 Heritage Park Hunters. Two former Dynasty champions here. Coach Stacy needs to keep winning, while Coach Tamulus needs to string together some victories soon if he plans on catching up in this thing. And now, on the Jumbo Donuts hotline, we have ourselves head of the Power Rankings Association, the Dynasty board member, Dynasty waiver specialist, a two-time and back-to-back South Riverdale Division champ, a goddamn 9-time Foursquare champion, coach of the 5-3 division-leading Bubba Gump Shrimp, Coach Bub Palucha. Coach, my knees just buckled because I'm ecstatic to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad that I could grace you with my presence.
Very graced. Now, Coach, you're coming off a win against the hopeless Iron Dogs. You're leading the league in points with 945, and you're 5-3 in a tie for the South Riverdale Division lead. How do you feel about your squad right now?
I feel very good about my squad. I came into the year, I had a great draft, and I felt confident going in. I'm actually surprised that I'm only 5-3. I think I could easily be, 6-1, 7-1, excuse me. Possibly even undefeated. I've had a tough schedule, but I put points on the board, and everyone's contributing, and I feel really good right now at the top of the division.
Yeah, you have had a tough schedule, and from previous years, I certainly know how that feels. You have the hardest strength of schedule thus far. Looking at your schedule, though, going forward, and especially last week, it looks like it might hopefully get a little bit easier for you. But as you said, you've gotten a lot of guys contributing for you. Matthew Stafford is fourth out of all quarterbacks. LaShawn McCoy is second among all running backs. Steve Smith is third among all receivers. Witten is third among all tight ends, and your Ravens defense is number one in the league. So pretty much you have one position out of all the positions really like in the top three or top four. So yep. that must feel good. Yeah,
I went into the season expecting McCoy to be a top 2 or 3 running back, and he's absolutely living up to the expectations. Stafford has stayed healthy all year, and he's producing. I knew Witten was going to be up there. Ravens defense are playing better than I anticipated. I mean, I expected them to still play well, but they're above my expectations. And Steve Smith is having a resurging year here with Cam Newton, so I'm proud of him, and even a few other guys who haven't done what I thought they would do. I still think there's time for them to come back to scoring what they should be.
I like it. Nice positive attitude, and sounds like you got a good locker room in there as well. Now, this week you're going up against Coach Jae Young Kim's Yellow Peril, and he's coming into this game winners of 2 straight. Now, you both have looks like you have Matthew Stafford and Steve Smith on byes, but he's got Cam Newton and MJD on byes as well, so that may kind of offset each other. What's your plan to win in this game this week?
Well, it's going to hurt having Matty S on the bye. I actually have to do a little work to find a starting quarterback this week.
Yeah, it looks like your backup Ponder's got a bye as well.
Yeah, the Ponder signing was more of a last week in case Stafford wasn't going to be able to go. He was injured during the week, but he ended up starting and putting up 30 points for me. I then realized that Ponder has a bye also this coming week, so I've been waiting for the waiver wire to the deadline to pass so I could pick up a free agent or even maybe trade kind of for a 1-week replacement. So that's an issue. But other than that, I have some good matchups with my other players, and I feel confident that my team can put up some big numbers again and come out with a W.
Great. Should be a good game, I think. Now, Coach, you and I were one of 4 idiot humans to enter the woods of Riverdale to search for the sacred Foursquare scroll. Can you tell our listeners a little more about that faithful day?
That day will go down forever in history as one of the greatest expeditions ever, I think, not only just for my life, but in general.